This is Lead with Integrity, where we strip leadership down to its core: self-awareness, honesty, and action. I'm Lena, and I'm bringing you real stories, deep conversations, and a nudge to lead your life with purpose. Are you ready to dive in? Hello, and welcome back to the show, friends. I had to jump on today because I was going through a personal scenario that I feel could be relevant for anyone who's challenging themselves regularly, who's stretching their comfort, who does something new, and is challenged to stay in connection with themselves. So the topic of the show of today is connect to reconnect. Come back to connection so that you can connect with your environment again on a different level in integrity. Topic of the show, right? I mean, duh. But it's so challenging. And disconnection, by the way, is also so normal that it happens. But the question is, how long does it take for you to catch yourself back to integrity, back to leading with your values, leading from your foundation, being brave to say the uncomfortable truth because it's just aligned to who you are, even though it's maybe not aligned to what other people expect. I believe truly if we would all live in alignment to that and act, think, speak in alignment to that, the world would become such a fresh breeze, like such a big exhale, such a relaxation, because it's so comforting to know what the other person is standing for, to know that person is so in connection, so grounded. I find that so attractive, magnetic. Everyone talks about be yourself and then you're the most magnetic, which is true. And it comes back to catching yourself back to connection. So after this show, you will understand what are the scenarios where I disconnect, what happens actually, why does that happen, and what do I normally do? What are the scenarios that we usually go into and how are they not helpful? And what is a solution that is helpful to come back to myself? And how do we then, from that step, become the Wi-Fi again, become receptive to go back into the conversations, go back into the external, go back into our business building, go back into our partnership, continue dating, continue being open-hearted instead of closed. That's what we're up for today. I took a couple of notes because it literally happened for me the last 24 hours where I felt what's up with me and my business? And I'm going to walk you through the steps that I go through to get myself back to base camp. I hope that's beneficial for any of you listening. As per usual, I'm super eager to open conversations through that. So please leave a comment, share it on socials, or send me a DM on social media. I'm always really, really interested in hearing how it lands for you and what you took from it. Connect to reconnect. The art of leadership when it gets uncomfortable. What are the situations? If we stick to business, in business we have so many times situations where it would be so easy to disconnect. Let's take the example of social media. You share something, but you don't get directly a response back from it. It depends how grounded you are, decides basically how you react afterwards. Does it make you feel insecure? Or can you still stand behind that message that you shared, even though it didn't have a direct response? Maybe it will never have a response. Do you still stand behind it? Or let's say you launch a product, you talk about your product, but nobody responds, nobody buys yet. Do you still stand behind it? Or do you start questioning everything, reposition yourself, and pivot from one thing to another? Honestly, I think that has been sometimes my case for sure, where I felt, okay, whatever, I'm just going to pivot and do something else. It can also be that in business, if we go a little bit more to the relationship sides, let's say you collaborate with a partner and that person, you send a message to that person saying hey, yeah, can you have a look at this and this and that? That person doesn't directly respond. how do you react? Do you spiral? Do you send like a follow-up message? Are you wondering if that person actually likes what you said? Or can you still stand behind it and trust that the other person will otherwise tell you? There are so many scenarios where we lose ourselves, and that's totally normal. Why is that normal? Because it's human for us to go into protection. That's what our ego does for us, right? Our ego wants to protect us, wants to keep us safe. However, safety doesn't always equal life quality. So when we go into, I'm not sure if that's safe, and we follow up, it doesn't necessarily mean the relationship with our coworker is going to improve. It doesn't mean like because I launched something, nobody replied, and I scream it even louder, that this will improve my life quality. It's one reaction or one behavior that our ego is really drawn to, is like fighting, getting even louder. Is one of the options that we sometimes go into. If we stick to the example of I posted something and nothing happened, what are the 3 scenarios that usually I've seen in my work, that I've seen also in myself, going into? One could be like screaming even louder and like sharing even more, making it bigger, like being all out there, like posting nonstop from an energy of like, come on, guys. There has to be someone, look at me, like fighting for attention. The other option could be that we feel withdrawing. Okay, if you don't want it, okay, I'm gonna head out as well. Dropping everything, being like, okay, fuck them. They don't understand my worth, so I'm gonna go somewhere else. Classic avoidance. Also protection mechanism, because your ego thinks, oh my God, that's not safe, girl or boy, go somewhere else. The third option is that sometimes we feel like, okay, I'm gonna get quiet. I'm gonna go inside myself. Is the positioning right? Is my offering right? And while there is some quality in that behavior, like while it's also sometimes good to question and like to reflect, it depends from which energy we come from. And in all these 3 scenarios, it comes from protection or defensiveness. Because deep down, we feel insecure in our foundation. It's not like to redefine the positioning. It's not like redefining the offering or speaking even louder or doing more posts or this and this and this and that. It will be all these steps that I just mentioned would be so much more beneficial and giving you quicker results if we go to the root of it, which is the foundation of, I feel insecure in my own foundation. I feel out of connection. I disconnected because there was no feedback. If we go into another example, let's say I had it the other day with like a reel that went viral about dating and like a booty call, and like the next day the guy didn't answer anymore. And while I was thinking to myself, it doesn't, like the one direction I could have gone into is like fighting, following up, texting again, like what are you doing? Why are you not texting? Like, was that not good enough? Questioning my own worth. Or I could go into hiding and like, okay, cutting it completely, but still having the resentment inside. What was the third option? We go like fighting, hiding, or like freezing, like completely questioning everything, like completely questioning my worth, not daring to go on any other booty call or any other date anymore. None of them solve the deeper layer, because I started to question then the experience. Whereas in the first place, I actually enjoyed the experience and it was good for what it is. And I could not see it as pure information at first, and I disconnected. I went into the spiral. I went into the, this is like affecting my worthiness. And that's why my ego, again, protecting, goes into defensiveness, goes into all kinds of scenarios. Does that help me? No, because the underlying energy is still the same. Even if I say, okay, whatever, if this whatever is like, okay, angry, whatever, or like still feeling like deeply hurt, it won't solve it long term. Another example, let's go into relationships. You and your partner have a misunderstanding, or let's say your partner doesn't understand your business endeavors. Like you are self-employed and you work like from home or like from different scenarios or different environments, but like your partner is not. Your partner is like in 9-to-5 job and doesn't really understand what you're doing with your business. Maybe doesn't see yet the results that you are working towards and starts questioning. You end up in a fight because you don't feel seen, you don't feel supported, and the other person doesn't see like what's the problem of like just getting a job. There's a disconnection. Or let's say how this plays out at the end depends on how grounded and connected you can stay with yourself. You go into disconnection means you fight. You completely lash out on the other person. You call this person names. You like push away. Or you go quiet. You go into your own head and start questioning, is that actually the relationship that I still want? You start doubting a lot. You spiral internally, thinking of all kinds of scenarios, or you freeze completely and push the topic away. None of these solutions actually are a solution because it doesn't help you to come back into connection. It doesn't help you to come back into your connection to yourself. Neither does it help you to connect with your partner. You see? So in all of these scenarios, whenever there is a disconnection happening, whenever we like lash out and we feel like we're a lot in the external, like also in this relationship example, what can happen is like that we project our instability onto the other person and say like, because of you, my business is not working. Because of you, I am not happy. And it's easier to do that because it's easier to push it onto the other person. But it's so much more long-lasting, worthwhile to do the inner work that at first is uncomfortable as hell, obviously, but helps you so much to talk differently, to act differently, and through that, others can connect on a total different level with you. So if we go further, how do we deal with it? And we go back to the business examples. I had it, for instance, the other day that I was like totally disconnected to what is actually my mission again. Like, what am I doing? Like, why am I talking about relationships now when I'm actually also talking about business? And like, how is this all connected? Who is actually understanding what I'm doing? I don't even understand what I'm doing. I should just give up completely, get a job, and continue with my life. So much easier. Have you ever had that thought? I was completely out of connection. So what did I do? Instead of like going further into analyzing, pivoting, creating a new offer, going online, searching for another job, I just did nothing of any of that. I just went to bed, had a good night's sleep, woke up the next morning, unrolled my mat, did a cup of tea, do what I normally do, and just connected with my body first and foremost. Did a couple of movements, didn't feel like super energetic. Every day is different, but I just moved my body. And I felt sad for a moment. And that needed to come out. Allowing ourselves to come back to our body. That's why Pilates for me was always like, my first mission statement was like, I help young professionals to reconnect with themselves through their bodies so that they can thrive through life. If it's connecting to your body or if it's connecting to your core being, it's always the same thing. Coming back to yourself, connecting to what is your mission, what are your values, what do you stand for? And from that, leading from a total different place. So coming back to what I did, coming back to the solutions for you to come back into connection. Movement, always a great option. If it's not unrolling the mat, it's like going out for a walk. That's what I did after. Made myself a coffee, went outside in the park, going for a walk. What it also does is you realize there's other people in the world that also do their thing. You are in nature, you activate your senses, you calm down your nervous system, and you move the emotion that is stuck. So many things, so many benefits of just going for a walk. No matter how big the to-do list is. It's so beneficial because what do you do if you're not in connection? You completely lose yourself. You end up, in the worst case, in a burnout because you completely lose touch with yourself. Just to stretch that sometimes. I feel sometimes we need to stretch it. What I did then, what you can do when you ever feel like disconnected, remind yourself of who the fuck you are. Remember who you are. Remember what you stand for. I listen to my manifesto. That's why a manifesto is not only important to like live in the scenario that we want to manifest, but also to catch ourselves when we're not there, like to hold ourselves back, to come back to foundation. In those manifestos, you then realize, oh yeah, now I remember. Now I remember what I stand for, what the mission is, what the umbrella term is for me, like to understand, okay, I help people to come back to connection. That's as simple as it is. And it all connects to it. If it's in relationships, if it's in business, if it's like with yourself, it's always the same. And that's like throughout the core, throughout all of the phases in my career path. Okay, I found myself back again. And from that place, I can lead differently again. I come back home, I feel like, okay, cool. I know actually what to do. I know what is on my to-do list. I know I have the capacity for it again. So movement, going outside, reminding yourself of who the fuck you are, what your mission is, what your values are, what you stand for. And from that place, like if you want to have a few other reminders, you could also listen to your like affirmations that really have an anchor for you, using your words, having reminders that can quickly get you back, and taking these reminders and use, for instance, EFT tapping is one of my favorites. Did it also like on the mat when I was lying there, like tapping. I am safe. I love my life. The universe is always on my side. Or like, I don't want to say too many sentences because it's like really about finding your own words. Because once it's your own words, it helps you way easier to connect back to yourself. That's at least like my experience with it. And what else can we find? A cold shower can help. Basically, anything that helps you back to grounding. Another technique could also be counting all the colors that you see, counting all the color and object that you see, naming it out loud. All kinds of things for really coming back into the here and now, coming back into grounding, and reminding yourself of that mission, of that vision, of your values. Because from that, and like, you know, what the tendency sometimes is to come back to what we do is like we outsource, right? Everything that we said earlier with like we project or we lash or we project that literally on others. I think nowadays there's even like another tool where we outsource it is AI. And I'm like guilty of that myself as well. That I then go into ChatGPT or like in any AI tool and type it in and like try to find my solution in there. Tell me again, what was my positioning? Tell me again, what was the connecting the dots? Tell me again. And that's scary. And like, that's also dangerous because our human capability and creativity of connecting the dots is like so much vaster than what an AI tool can actually do. And it also doesn't stop, right? Like you lose yourself in it and you go further and further and further into it. And then you feel like, okay, this is now, they told me what I am about. And this tool is like right and I am wrong. So like you override your own wisdom. And that's very dangerous to not live in alignment to yourself, because then you do the very thing that you wanted to come away from when you decided to be an entrepreneur. And entrepreneurship is very creative. You're a life artist. And as soon as you start using those tools, you steal or you rob yourself from that very thing that makes entrepreneurship, makes your offering so outstanding, so unique, so different from anyone else. It's your story. It's like our lived experience. The experience that I had that I'm sharing here now, ChatGPT wouldn't have told me that. Like catching myself to connect back to myself, using my body, using nature, using everything, all senses, ChatGPT can't do that for us. There's like our system is so much more holistic and so much vaster than this one tool can give us. Just to say that here about where also our world is shifting into and like using more AI, like there are definitely benefits of when to use it. But I don't think it's the moment when you're out of connection to use it. Then it's much more the tools that I just mentioned before. Because from that place, okay, use it. From that place, go into offer creation, positioning, and so on and so forth. But come first back to yourself from yourself. Like use tools that are like nature-based tools, like the tools that I just mentioned. I hope that makes sense. Because when you come back to that established connection, literally like you could visualize it as it is with Wi-Fi connection, internet connection, you suddenly radiate in a different frequency. And I know that sounds like all fancy and like dululu, but like it is literally the case. You feel it when someone is in contact or in connection with themselves. It radiates like a warmth, like a frequency where you automatically want to come to. It starts with really being in touch with yourself, feeling your body, feeling your mission again, like being, oh, hell yes, I know what I am, I know who I am, I know what I stand for, let's freaking go. That creates, even through the screen, a ripple. And you always want to create that again. Energy is created. Connection is created. You don't have to wait for being in good energy. You don't have to wait for the weather to be good. You can create that as like part of leadership, self-leadership. And whenever you're back there, guess what happens? You can out of a sudden show up for your team differently. You're in a better mood, like they feel affected by it and they want to show up for you in the same way because it's, again, creating a ripple for everyone else. I mean, you know it. When you're surrounded by people who have this kind of standing, this groundedness, that feeling of let's go, you also internally get affected by it. And vice versa, right? Like if you're not feeling it, you also feel like, oh my God, okay, yeah, she's so affected by the weather, like maybe I should also be. So from that place, you can go back into conversations from a total different standpoint. I had it the other day, like with this booty call, like I can see it more as information instead of like questioning my own experience, questioning my showing up for it. And it's like a practicing in every area of life. Or if we stay to the business context, I share something online and it doesn't have like the traction that I thought it would have, but I felt good sharing it. It came from like a grounded feeling. It doesn't really matter then anymore, or I can see it as pure information that there was no engagement, instead of like judging and questioning my whole messaging and my whole core message or being. So like even if I go back into refinement, even if I go back into repositioning my offer and my business, it doesn't completely like erodes or like what's the English word, but like doesn't completely take off the whole foundation. The foundation stays, but like the the expression of it might change in small details. And that is so incremental for business, but also for like relationships. And all of a sudden you will realize it becomes so much easier to have the uncomfortable conversation. You can trust yourself enough that even if the other person reacts in a way that you haven't seen coming, or that you feel like is disrespectful or doesn't align with your values, you can just see it as it is. You can just see it as information instead of like being thrown off by it. You can say what you feel and what you would like to change in this collaboration, in this situation, in the relationship, and hear the other person, literally understanding the other person, sitting next to that other person, fully indulging yourself into their world and understanding it from their lens, and coming together, creating like a compromise, a third solution, or like not even a compromise, but just like being creative then and finding, okay, how can we both have our opinions met and create, maybe if we want to move forward and work continuously work together, how can we create a scenario where both of our values are not completely overdriven, where we're not stretching ourselves, where we're not stretching our boundaries, where we still feel we can stay in connection with ourselves and at the same time also get that mission together forward moving. That's what is only possible when you can handle yourself internally. When we are back in connection with ourselves, we can think in creative solutions. When we're still triggered, when we're still protecting, when we're still fighting, that's not possible. So the question is, how quickly can we catch ourselves to be able to find creative solutions, which I can't give you even. Like, it's only possible, like, it's sometimes my clients ask me, okay, can you just not tell me? What should I tell? How should I say it? I can't even tell you, because like you will know what to say, how to say it, how to go into it. My job is just to help you stay in connection with yourself, and the rest will go from there. I think that's basically it. And it's also, you will notice that in some areas of your life you manage that easier than in others. Maybe it's easier for you to come back to yourself in business context, like you have your company, you have your team, you have your mission-driven statement, everyone lives by it, everyone is committed to it, everyone knows what the foundation is, what to come back to when there's like a client that is super annoying and like doesn't want to follow your rules and your systems. First of all, there are rules that they can refer to, and it's the same in relationships. There is a certain foundation that you can refer back to, and that creates safety and stability. Same within yourself. There are certain grounding rules, who you are, what you stand for, and so on and so forth, that you can always fall back onto. So I hope that helps. I hope that actually helps you to move forward, because yeah, whenever there's stuck energy, we gotta move it. And you can move forward. Like, I trust so much in you. You can do it. It just sometimes needs a short moment. Have compassion with yourself. Catch yourself. And then move forward. You got this. Connection is the answer, honestly. And that's it for today. If you feel like you want to work further on this, if you want to have like a guiding hand or someone who helps you to come back into connection, hit me up. We have different offers on the forefront, like of course one-on-one is one of them. You can also join the Ecosystem Mastermind. Actually, now we're opening for the first time also one of the collaboration hubs in France, in Chamonix, in June, where you can either just enter only into that collaboration hub and have a look how I work, how we work together also offline, which has honestly been the one most transformative part of the Ecosystem Mastermind for my clients, because it's just like so immediate and the integration is so quick. Or you can also join for a small price at 33 euros right now, maximum 88 euros for like the masterclass on Saturday, the 9th of May at 11 a.m. for 90 minutes, where we go through different steps and different question sets that also help me always to quickly come back to myself especially targeted to the situation when there's silence and you make the silence mean something. How to catch yourself that you make the meaning forward moving, like that you can actually move forward. So whatever of these offers speak to you, all of them are linked in the show notes. Let me know how that all lands, send me a message, and thank you so much for being here. See you next time.